Mike in Fairfax, Virginia. My call screener is convinced you are a paid Republican shill. Prove us otherwise.
No. You know, you guys always say that. Can you guys send me an email with some of the links so I can get paid? Because I always hear that as a cop-out excuse. But I've looked on the internet, and I've never been able to find where
So
I can
you admit it. Oh, no, you deny it. But that's a, you know,
no, I'm not
in any
getting
case.
paid, but I'd like
okay,
to
so what's your riff today?
Where to go? Huh?
What's your riff today?
You're not going to tell me where to go.
To look for that? Oh, you can.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I don't know where to go.
Okay, me neither. So
I know that you can Google it. I've read the articles. I've seen the things. We've had paid people who are paid to post on our message board come right out and tell us that they were doing it for money, and in one case tell us where. Now that was back in 2004. That guy was being paid for by the RNC, but I don't know.
I wanted to talk about.
You know, so you might want to start with the RNC. They may well still be paying people to post things and to call radio shows.
So with regard to the immigration...
So in your rehearsal, you want to say...
Huh?
In your rehearsal for a paid job, you wanted to say...
Yeah, so I've been watching the immigration coverage and listening on Sirius Left, and it kind of cracks me up.
Mm-hmm.
So the Senate is enlightened in this passage of this bill that's over 1,000 pages laden with pork, and somehow John Boehner is portrayed as this idiot who's just an obstructionist and playing hard politics for his own gain. But the last time I looked...
I don't think that any of that characterizes the way that I've characterized this legislation. It's a pretty simplistic... I can't speak for anybody else on Sirius Left or any other progressive host, but none of those are ways that I would characterize this piece of legislation.
When did it become the political norm that the other body of the legislature was obligated to take on the bills of the other branch?
Well, it never was. It's in the Constitution that all legislation that involves spending or taxation has to originate in the House. Although they don't always follow that, they'll pass a bill out of the Senate and then use it as a wrapper in the House and then pass it back to the Senate. But eventually, if they don't agree, if the two bodies don't agree, they send it to a conference committee where they work out their differences or don't, and create one bill that then gets re-voted on by both bodies. So I don't understand what your complaint is.
But the last time I looked, the House had passed over 100 bills that wouldn't even get to the floor in the Senate for debate.
And vice versa.
Sirius Left, huh?
And vice versa. The Senate's passing legislation. It's been in fact today. It was 100 days since the Senate passed a budget that has under $1 trillion deficit, which are all the Republicans say they want, and that would have kept the government operating and that would have funded things actually in ways that were quite conservative. From way too conservative for my liking, but the Senate passed it with both Republicans and Democrats voting for it. And for 100 days, John Boehner has refused to take a vote on a budget, or on this budget, on the Senate's budget.
And while that is shocking, I think it's more shocking that we're going into the second term of the Obama administration and we still don't have a budget.
Yeah, it's not at all shocking. We still don't have a budget because John Boehner won't bring it up in the House of Representatives. It actually passed the Senate.
That's not true. That's your budget. There were 12 budgets prior to that one that passed out of the House with even Democratic votes that went to the Senate and didn't even get to the floor for debate.
Those were insane budgets.
Even Obama's own budget got voted down in the House, and Democrats voted against it.
Yeah, that was I think a strategic misfire on the part of the administration. The bottom line, though, is that, and you know this as well as I do, Mike, that the night that President Obama was inaugurated, a group of Republicans got together here in town at the Caucus Room restaurant and swore basically a blood oath to each other that they would do everything they could to destroy his presidency, which meant block his legislative agenda. I think it was Jeb Henseling said that they were going to do it based on the model of the Taliban. And
that's an intriguing story. All I will say is that it is not the norm in politics that the other house has to take on a bill that came out of the other.
Well, that's how legislation always gets passed. So you can call it not the norm, but they've been doing it since the George Washington administration.
And both sides block bills. And so to call one side an obstructionist and the other side a political genius is the worst kind of spin I've heard.
Who have I called a political genius?
Huh?
Who have I called a political genius?
I will say you're pretty fair about criticizing Harry Reid, but on the other side, whenever the House passes a bill, whether it's, let's say it's repeal of Obamacare or modification of Obamacare, the House will pass it with a sizable majority, and then Harry Reid will say, "Nope, I ain't even getting to the floor for a debate." And
well, that's because the majority of the Republicans in the House of Representatives are nuts.
Well,
they're 37 times they've passed bills to do away with Obamacare. What's Harry Reid supposed to do with that? That's not what the American people want. It's not what the Senate wants.
Right now?
It's stupid. It's just an empty gesture for the Tea Party crazies back home.
If that's the case, then lobby Harry Reid to bring it to the floor for open debate, and he won't do it because he knows he'll lose the Democrats. The only reason Obamacare passed in the first place is because Obama bought a vote with his executive order banning abortion, and then flip-flopped.
If you're going to complain about Harry Reid, I'm curious your take on the Hastert rule. Do you think it's appropriate that John Boehner say, even though a majority of members of the House of Representatives want to vote on a piece of legislation, that he will not bring it to the floor for a vote because a majority of the Republican caucus doesn't support it?
It's a political maneuver, and it's appropriate because it's within the rules.
Okay, so when John Boehner does it, it's fine. When Harry Reid does it, it's wrong.
No, it's fine when they both do it, is my point.
Okay.
It's fine if it's within the rules of the legislative body to do that political maneuver.
Okay, so then I don't get what you're complaining about.
Huh?
I don't get what you're complaining about.
I'm complaining about the criticism of John Boehner for doing the political maneuvers when Harry Reid does it every day in the Senate by denying.
You think John Boehner doesn't do it every day in the House?
What's that?
You think John Boehner doesn't do it every day in the House?
Perfectly acceptable.
He's been doing it for 100 days now with the Senate budget.
And
every single day.
It's fine on both bodies to use the rules.
So what are you complaining about?
I'm complaining about the coverage and the portrayal of one as being an obstructionist, and the other one, that's just the way we do things here. It's pathetic. And so I'll tell you the reason Harry Reid won't.
Mike, you know as well as I do that those bills that were passed out of the House of Representatives with no Democratic support, Democrats are not voting to end Obamacare. Those were not passed in the hopes that they would become legislation. Those were passed as a way of saying to the Tea Partiers back home, hey, in the primary, please don't primary me. You know that. This Mike is out of steam. Mike, thanks a lot for the call. We'll talk again, I'm sure. And someday you'll get paid. Just hang in there.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
And Mike, when you go to the RNC and ask them to pay you to call into radio shows, ask them why they flipped the stars upside down and they got the satanic stars on their logo. I am dying to find out.